On today's episode of Survival Dispatch News, Dave and John from the Righteous Savages podcast join us to discuss the invasion of illegal immigrants who are wreaking havoc across our country. Hey guys, welcome back to Survival Dispatch News. A very important topic to discuss today, and helping me talk about it are the hosts of the Righteous Savage podcast, Dave Kemp and Jon Wheaton. What's up, guys?
How's it going, Denny?
Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
It's going great. I've been so excited. I've been wanting to do this for so long, get you guys on one of our episodes here, and we're going to do it. But first off, you guys know we've been reading these conflicted cards, and it's your turn to jump in on the game. What is the conflicted question of the day?
All right, we'll just jump right into it. So here it is. You hear a noise in the back of your house, and you found about 12 orphans scavenging for food in your garbage cans. This reminds me of Nacho Libre. I hate orphans, all of them. Okay, so anyway, 12 orphans scavenging for food in your garbage cans. They appear to be kids 6 and 7 years old. Taking them in would diminish your supply timeline by 50%, and you aren't sure you can replenish your supplies once they run out. Plus, it would take manpower to watch over all of them, and you can spare little since everyone in your camp is constantly exhausted from hard work and ration meals. Leaving these kids to their fates would mean their deaths or worse. How would you handle this situation?
Okay, so we're not going to answer it right now. We're gonna think about this. We're gonna mull it over. We're gonna answer individually, all three of us, at the end of today's discussion. Now, the whole idea, viewers, if you've not heard us talk about this, this is a post-apocalyptic game scenario, and what would your mindset be? You know, how would you answer these questions? So there, we got that out of the way. We'll talk about it later, and we're also going to talk about you guys and what you're doing, but I really want to jump right into the topic. You know, we used the bumper at the beginning of today's video of the cops in New York getting beat up, punched and kicked, and just given a thorough thrashing by some illegal immigrants. That just a terrible thing, and all but one were released on no bail. And you know, the bail guy, he's the one you saw on the news recently, flashing the bird to everybody in the country watching the evening news. And you know, this illegal invasion of immigration is just a huge talking point right now. It's a huge concern to me. I know you guys have discussed it on your podcast as well, but this is what we're talking about today. And just I want the overview of what you guys think about this and what's happening.
Yeah, I'll give you my gut reaction real quick. So I was watching the news. You know, obviously we're very conservative dudes, but I do watch ABC News every once in a while. I watch a lot of different formats. I fully understand where the national media is coming from and what their agenda is, but I still watch it. And I watch it to see things like this. So the night they showed the clip of the New York cops getting beat up, they said a group of asylum seekers attacked these police officers.
They're sugarcoating it from the beginning.
That's an on-purpose agenda. They have to make a decision in their news meeting. What are we going to call these people? We can't call them illegal immigrants. That was the first thing that got canceled. Then migrants, migrants, like, that's too mean. So now we have to say asylum seekers to soften the blow. You know, if somebody came into a grocery store and robbed it and shot the clerk to death, you wouldn't say the underprivileged high school youth broke into you would say the armed robber. You would call them whatever they are. So the first step is we have to see it and understand it and call it what it is. It's illegal immigrants. And it's been that way forever. It's not mean. It's a term. It's what's written down in the statute, in the federal law. It's like everywhere, but culture has turned it into something different. And it doesn't mean we're just going to be mean to people on purpose, but we need to call it like it is. These are people that have broken in to your country, not any different than if somebody broke into your house or broke into a store or something else. That's illegal on so many levels. It's hard to describe. So the first thing for me is always to take a step back and try to see what the national media, the news is trying to tell us. Take that with a grain of salt, but understand, but we need to get the word out that we have to stop the culture of renaming things. And calling things, you know, not harmful. And, you know, asylum seekers, nobody's seeking asylum from some bad thing. Next time you watch a group of asylum seekers crawl through the fence in San Diego, they're wearing Air Jordans. They're
Mm.
wearing nice clothes. They got 12 iPhones on them. They are doing well. These are not the kids that are, like, 80 pounds with flies stuck to their eyes and their nose. That's not what's happening. These people are not seeking asylum. It's a lie. And the first thing we got to do is get people to understand, are there good people out there that want to come here? Yeah, but on so many levels, this is really corrupting the system.
Yeah, I don't see in the videos that I'm seeing and everything that's going on, I'm not seeing a lot of families, a lot of children, in all honesty. I'm seeing a lot of military age males. That's the overall, the majority of what I'm seeing come across is military age males. And we'll get into this a little bit later on, but the threat that poses to our country is beyond anything that we've ever dealt with before, in my opinion. I think it's an invasion, and we've never had the United States of America invaded since the War of 1812.
Yeah.
And like, we're allowing this to happen. We don't know where most of these guys are coming from. It's actually been proven by several news media outlets that they've come from terrorist states. We have over 600,000 gotaways, which means we don't even know where they're at, that have gotten across the border in the last 3 years. That is absolutely unacceptable, and we need to do something about it.
Yeah. Have you guys discussed this on your podcast recently?
Yes, we actually just released an episode with Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, and we did a little bit of a discussion about that. In that, we haven't done a full blown episode about immigration, although that is coming, because it is the most important thing, the most important threat to our country right now. We're just seeing lawlessness at a level that I can't even comprehend in these major cities across our country. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, it's definitely affecting our cities, as you mentioned to me earlier before we started recording, what it's doing to our cities regarding the resources and housing, not to mention crime notwithstanding, just the economic impact. And we are the ones that are paying for this. But really, what we want to do by the end of this conversation is really give some people advice on how to better prepare to protect themselves and their families and things like this, because like you said, Dave, they're not all bad guys. There probably are some legitimate folks trying to make a better life and don't have nefarious intentions involved. But by the way, what do you think about Texas sort of taking over the Eagle Pass area down there?
Awesome. They got to do whatever they can to protect themselves. And even the people, if you imagine, like, okay, somebody living in Mexico, they got a hard life, they want to come to America because that's where the opportunity is. They can't, it's so messed up because they can't get here without paying a cartel 2 or 5 or 10 grand. And if they can't pay the 10 grand, they're forced to bring drugs here. So the people that are just want to get here for a good life, they're stuck, they're wrapped up in the drug cartel from the very beginning. There's nobody that gets to the big Trump wall without cartel giving them a ride. The next time you see the video of people showing up to the fence, there's always a dude in a Chevy Suburban on the Mexico side with an iPhone, and that's the cartel dropping them off. The fact that we're allowing this to happen, like, who in their right mind would say we need to support the drug cartels in Mexico as much as possible?
No.
It's ridiculous, but we are doing that. We disguise it as just being a nice country helping asylum seekers. Well, let's get people, we just need to pull back the curtain and show people what is really going on. We need to show these drug cartels. It's like we need to have more people like Project Veritas or whoever get out there and do these undercover stuff, hidden camera things to show what's really going on so people understand it. Because right now, you live in the middle of America, you don't see it. You live in a small town, 10, 20,000 people. And even that being said, we live in the middle of America in the heartland. Already, the homeless population is enormous. It is exploding. We have got so much going on with homeless people from this country. And then you throw in, where are these people from Mexico going to go? They're all going to be homeless too. It's like we're doubling the homeless population in a matter of months, and it's not sustainable. And it reminds me, it's kind of like, South Park. There's a lot of truth in there's a South Park episode where everybody in town starts hating the police, flipping off the police, giving them a hard time, making fun of them. And next thing you know, by the end of the episode, the town is on fire. Every building in town is on fire, and it's in shambles. And people are like, we could really use some police around here. Maybe go get some cops. And it's too late. It's too
Yeah.
late by the time some people realize what's going on. And hopefully what you're doing, Denny, and hopefully us getting our voice out there, we can convince people when it, comes the time to make decisions on this stuff, that we'd better start making the right decisions right now.
Yeah. And speaking of decisions, why do you think we're seeing this huge influx of illegal immigration flowing over the borders? What's the reason for this?
Well, first of all, there was a law, an executive order in place when Trump left office that was called the Stay in Mexico policy. And what that did is, if you came and was seeking asylum at the border, you were given a court date, but you had to remain in Mexico until your court date was available. You weren't just released into the population.
Duh.
You had to stay.
That's a duh moment. That's a duh.
Yes. And day one of the first things that Biden did when he took office is he did away with that executive order. And we saw an explosion. In 2020, there were 400,000 border crossings. The next year, it was 1.6 million, 1.7 million. We have 7 million illegal crossings in the last 3.5 years. Like it's exploded to a level that we've never seen before. And that is one of the key parts, is that we're just allowing these people in, and now they're given a court date, and they're given, if they have somebody that they're connected to in the United States, they can go stay with them. But then if they don't show up for the court date, oh well. And some of them are being given court dates like 4 or 5, 6, 7 years from now. I mean, that is just insane.
And the obvious thing, Denny, is the reason why we're letting all these people in is so they will be sympathetic to the people who let them in. And someday in 2 or 3 years, when they're allowed to vote, they will vote for the people that let them in. That is the reason. There's nothing else makes any sense whatsoever. And that's it.
And I don't know if you heard this, it's a recent soundbite of this Democratic congressman saying that our most important priority is illegal immigrants. Literally on the floor of the United States Congress says this is our number one priority. Not the U.S. citizens, not people that pay their taxes, not people that have a vested interest in this country of generations. It's the people that have broken the law coming across the border. I mean, that should make every American furious with our Congress.
Yeah, 100%. Are you guys in fear that in this huge influx of illegal immigrants flowing over the border and invading our country, that there is a sprinkling of terrorists in those groups, or people that are there for very specific bad reasons?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know how many people on the terror watch list have been caught at the border already. It's several hundred. And it's really spooky. It's one thing if you see a mom, a 30-year-old mother and her 5-year-old kid coming across the border. You're like, all right, these people probably just want a better life. When you see the 14 guys from India or a group of 20 people from China, that's where things start to get sketchy. Like what? Like these people came from India and China. They came all the way to Mexico. They had to pay a cartel to somehow get to the border. And now they're coming. Like it's so obvious that they're not going through the right channels. They're sneaking in, and they know once they get to the border, it's a free pass. The government is gonna, so what if you have to come back in court in 7 years? They made it in, and that's where things start to get real scary, is when all these people with nefarious intent, and we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. We're seeing the ones that show up on the news, not the ones that come through in the middle of the night, not the gotaways. So that's I'm concerned, no doubt, about that. Those groups of people making it in here.
Yeah, when I saw that video of those people beating up the NYPD cops, I thought, my first thought was, how brazen have they become? And these may just be your basic street thug version of illegal immigrants. How can they become so brazen as to attack? And you're a 29-year police vet. Dave, and how does that affect you when you saw that, by the way?
It's crazy. And I'll tell you why they're doing that. It's because they know there's no consequences, no consequences or repercussions, as they said in the movie Life. And when there's no consequences to your actions, you'll do whatever. I mean, can you imagine, Denny, as a grown man, we're all able to handle ourselves, protect ourselves. Can you imagine going to Iraq on a sightseeing visit, and some cops and a military in Iraq started messing with you, and you decided to beat up I mean, you'd be in prison forever or executed on the spot, because and nobody does it because they know they'll just kill you right there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In America is exactly the opposite. We're on the total end of the other end of the spectrum, where you can do anything. You can kick cops in the face, and all they're going to do is write you a ticket and a court date, and they're going to let you go. And when you learn that a certain behavior, there's no consequences, you'll do it more. It emboldens more people to do it. And we need to do just the opposite. We need to embolden the law-abiding citizens of America to get involved, especially in those situations. There should have been 50 citizens on the streets of New York that came to those officers' rescue.
Yep.
That's what it should.
Instead of standing there videoing it with their iPhones.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we get a lot of crimes on video, but we don't get a lot of people standing up and stopping the crime.
Yeah.
It's insane. And I think that one of the biggest things for that is why they feel emboldened is because they look at our leadership. And I mean, I'll call this out straight up. They look at our president and the news conference that he gave last night where he can't even talk. We've got a guy that's basically should be in a nursing home leading our country and pushing all of these policies that are absolutely broken, and they're not coming from him. It's obvious they're not coming from him.
Yeah.
They're coming from these people that could never win an election because they're too radical, and they're pulling the strings for that. And it is just a absolute and total. It's in my opinion, they are breaching their what they are supposed to do, what is laid out in the Constitution. They're supposed to protect our borders. They're supposed to do all that. And this is treasonous, in my opinion.
I can just see the military leaders in China right now going, we need to make a move right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you see Biden? We need to launch some missiles to Taiwan or do whatever. We need to go today. I can see that happening. It's like,
so
scary.
we see all these states standing with Texas right now. And, I'm hearing murmurings and talk about, well, maybe this will lead to a civil war and I don't know, Texas will secede. And, it's the only way we're going to keep this invasion of illegal immigrants coming into our country. And what's your spin on this?
I don't know. I think, the way the country is set up right now, it's very difficult to make change. It's very difficult to garner momentum to do, especially something as significant as that, as getting a state to succeed or a civil war to start, whether it's your physical body or anything in nature or a country. Everything likes status quo. Everything likes to stay the same. It's very difficult to make big changes like that. So we've talked about it in episodes before, and I think there's that feeling of like, there's a lot of people have the feeling of like, man, we need to do something, or there's a possibility something might happen. My gut feeling is that's very difficult for something like that to ever really take place. I mean, you would have to get to the zombie apocalypse state, I think, of the country before something like that might really happen. And, I would hate, obviously that's the last thing we would want to see in this country. And I hope that something like that would stay off, obviously, as long as humanly possible.
Yeah. I don't know that we understand. There's a lot of talk about civil war. I just recently did a short video on, are we at the verge of a civil war? But I don't think people understand the ramifications of that. Last time we had a civil war, 660,000 men died. And that was when we had a much lower population than we do now. It was something like 10 or 15% of males in the country died in that war. You extrapolate that out to today and our population today, you're talking about millions, if not tens of millions of people die.
And we were just talking about how hard it is for people on the street of New York. They see a fight, cops getting beat up, and they won't do anything. And now you're telling me somehow people are going to get motivated to take their country back? I mean, talk about only the 1% or the 3%. I mean, you're talking about a very small number of people that would even imagine being involved in that type of thing. And things have to get probably a lot worse than they are today.
Yeah. So obviously things are probably going to get better before they get worse, would you say?
No.
Or worse before it gets better.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's that.
Yeah,
Ding, ding,
that's
ding.
what I
You
meant.
got that one. So,
Yeah, and I've said this before. I'm very concerned. I don't think things get better. And I've been a cop. I was a cop for 29 years. That kind of built me into a pessimistic person. I had to be non-trusting. I had to not believe people. You
Yeah.
know, I just kind of was, grown up in that police culture. But seeing what I've seen and where we're at today, how far we've come, normal's not coming back, they say. I don't, man, the people are going to have to really get motivated. Like the good people of America, the Christians, the good fathers are, people are going to have to really take a stand on purpose one way or the other and not just sit back. A lot of people are comfortable. Well, I got a job. I got a family. I'm just going
Yeah.
to do my thing. And
Write it out.
if it is going to change, it's going to have to take more action than that because things are circling the drain in a hurry right now.
Yeah. If you were to ask to give some advice to our viewers to just be better prepared for this entire scenario, where do you even start? What do you say to them?
I think for me, and this is speaking from just my experience over the last 4 years, 2020 was really where I had a major shift in my mindset. And I saw all the craziness and the lawlessness. I mean, I don't know how many people actually remember what those riots looked like in 2020, or how the government overreach was just overboard and just at an insane level. And I started thinking, maybe I need to learn how to how to prep food. Maybe I need to learn how to get my own water, or how to learn how to be more proficient with firearms so I can protect myself, so I can hunt, so I can do all of these things. Because I know this is kind of doom and gloomy, but I agree with Dave. I don't know that we're coming back from this without a miracle. I don't think we are. And I think that being prepared with your family, building a community of people that have the
Yes.
same mindset, because you're not going to survive. No man is an island, and you're not going to survive by yourself in a dangerous situation. You always need brotherhoods. You always need other people that are like-minded in the fight with you. And that's what our whole idea of building this is, our righteous savages is to do that. But I think that really just taking everyday practical steps to building a prep. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not something that just manufactures out of thin air, but it's something that people should be thinking about.
Yeah, and for me, I'll give you something very specific. You need to get a gun and or guns. You need a handgun, you need a rifle, you need those two things, and you need to learn how to use them. And that should be the foundation. Like that's probably the last thing you would ever need as far as the getting ready for the bad thing in the world. You're going to need other stuff more. You're going to need buddies. You're going to need water. You're going to need supplies way more than you're going to need a firearm. But the firearm aspect, that's the foundation. Like you need to be prepared for the mob. There's going to be more riots. There's going to be more cops shooting people
I agree.
for no reason. There'll be more George Floyd style riots. There'll be more hurricanes and volcanoes and earthquakes and just
And pandemics.
Even if you're not worried
Pandemics.
even if you're not worried about the
Pandemics.
migrant issue, even if you're not, worried about riots, there's a million other things that your safety is dependent on. And having, the firearm skills, I hear a lot of people like, oh, well, guys just like to get out and pretend with their guns and pretend like they're SWAT team guys and Navy SEALs, and that's all dumb. You'd better, every time Denny would go to a call, like an armed robbery call or a sexual assault victim or somebody got violently attacked, the one thing that would have stopped all of that is somebody being prepared with a gun. Would have stopped it 100%. I'm like, why didn't you have a gun? Well, I just never was really into it. Well, that's interesting. You would have not been raped if you had a gun. You would have not been armed robbed. You not would have been home invaded. Like these things would stop 100% in your life if you knew how to defend yourself with a firearm. So some way or other, you need to get into that in a hurry. Get you a little bit. It doesn't mean you got to put 10,000 rounds of ammo in your basement, but you need a good quality handgun. You need a good rifle. You need to get some ammo, and you need to start practicing with that stuff. And that's one thing that most people can do fairly easy. You don't need a magic recipe. You don't need that's pretty simple stuff. The information is open source. It's out there. Good grief. I mean, go to YouTube and there's 5 million people telling you what gun to get, what ammo, what gear. So get started with that, because when the next George Floyd riot happens and the mob is coming down your street, because most people in America live in big metro areas, and you decide you need to leave, you don't have that. All you can do is beg for your life and beg for mercy from these criminals. And I'm not going to let my life be in the hands of them.
Yeah. What do you guys think is going to happen this next election?
Who knows at this point? I think it's after the things that just happened in the last couple of days. I'm really leery on whether Biden's even going to be the candidate for the Democrats. I just don't think that he's in a mental capacity to even run a campaign. They're basically calling a lid on the White House every day at 2 p.m. and
well, that's nap time.
Right. That's after Matlock and pudding, and we're good to go. But I think that if we use past things to predict the future, there's going to be some shenanigans this year, and there's going to be some things that we're going to question. And I would say that, we need to be prepared because things could get ugly, 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 because I think that there are people with nefarious intentions that are pulling the strings in these elections, and whether it's, blatantly or just kind of pushing in a certain direction, whatever length they are actually shifting these things, they're going to try again. And I don't think that there's any question about that.
And I think the way you solve that problem, because to me, I look back and I'm like, I think there is a lot of shady involvement with organizations like Acorn and these community organizing groups that are going out and just grabbing everybody. Hey, you want to vote for so-and-so? We'll sign this form or we'll do your ballot. Like there's ballot harvesting in that way going on. And the Democrats have got that figured out. They've done that way more than Republicans, but we can overcome any of that stuff if everybody that was really concerned just got out there and voted. It would be overwhelming victory if the people just actually got involved. And so that's what we need to do, is somehow convince people, like, you cannot just sit around. You cannot be the person. And the thing that somehow we got to convince people of is you're not voting for a person. You're not voting. We can't just say, I need to find the best, nicest person out there in the world, and that's who I want to vote for because that's who I care about or whatever. Trump's not the most morally upstanding person in the world. Neither is Joe Biden. So you have to vote based on policy. You have to vote on the big picture. What is that person going to try to accomplish? And if you try to say, well, I don't like this person and, he's mean or like, we cannot do that anymore. You have to vote based on policy 100% and just get over the fact. Some people have told me, I just can't vote for Trump because he's such a bad person and he's mean. He says he makes fun of people and he does all these things. But you know what? We're going to get the border fixed. We're going to support our military, support law enforcement. We're going to support pro-life movement. We're going to support a lot of things I really, truly believe in. So, and if you base your decision on who's the nicest person, you are probably going to have to stop buying jeans from Levi's. You're going to have to stop buying cars. You can't buy, because every name brand of everything you own is probably run by a guy that's not a nice person. So what are you going to do now? Not ever go buy anything ever again in your entire life? Like, we have to get over it, all these little personality things, and just go vote based on the issues and what you think this person is going to accomplish that you align with.
Yep. And I'll tell a quick story. And this is something that the story I was told, the place where I work, we have auditors that come in, and we had an auditor come in, and he told me a story about how he became a Republican. He was a Democrat when he was going to college.
Okay.
And it was in the 1970s. There was a presidential election, and he said, I was offered by a very attractive young lady to make $200 in one day. And he was bused from Indiana into Chicago, and they hung out on this bus all day and were given food and were given to hang out with all these really nice girls. And they went around and voted in different precincts. This is a personal story that a guy told me.
Nice.
And so he said that day was the day that I became a Republican for the rest of my life, because he was like, these guys are pulling stuff that's just insane. And, I'm not saying one way or the other, but the dude's a pretty trustworthy dude. I know him pretty well. And this is the kind of stuff that when you have corruption at the highest levels, these kind of things are allowed to happen. And I don't think that anybody thinks that the 2020 election was on the up and up completely. If you do, then you're completely blind and you're completely got your head in the sand. So we've got to make people aware of these things, and we've got to stand up and get people out to actually cast their vote for people that are going to make a change.
Yeah, it seems to me like that's the core base beginning of any solution, if there is a solution, is to start with the vote. And
I say everybody just goes to AmericanIdol.com and vote. Like, I'm serious, man. Like, we can vote for the president. It should happen on your phone. Like, you set up two-factor authentication. What I say? Authentication.
Authentication. That's a word.
There's got to be a way to do it. Can you imagine if you told Democrats, listen, we came up with a system. It's foolproof. It wouldn't be, but it's foolproof. Every person in America of voting age, it's legal for them to vote. We're going to do electronic. You guys cool with that? They would be no way. They would say no in a heartbeat because they know that the result. And here's what's interesting. We need to look at we see a very close election. 2020, Trump only lost by, like, between a few states, like 50,000 votes or something. It's very close. We need to look in society and figure out what's really going on or not. You know, the news tells us that so-and-so in the polls is leading by so much, or that so many people are Democrat or Republican. But you look at things like, well, okay, what's the most popular news organization on the planet? It's Fox News. They're very conservative. How come they blow every other newscast out of the water with ratings? Because most people in America are watching that show. You know, people tell you, well, crime's going down in America. Here's these new stats. You know, all these crime is going down. Well, how come CVS and Walgreens are shutting down stores? That's real life. That's that's the real data you need to see. Crime is going up. I can't imagine as a kid turn on the news and seeing a store closing in my town because of a crime wave. But that's what's going on, and that is real data that's happening, and we need to pay attention to the real information and not just the stats here and what this person says there. Look around you, see what's going on. You know, they say inflation's coming down to 3%. Really,
my groceries still cost a fortune.
I'm buying is 50% more expensive. Supply, you go to Home Depot, we can name a million things where the prices have doubled or tripled. That's not 3%, that's 300%.
Yeah.
So just look around you for the truth. You will see it everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you guys hear? We have some very leftist. Oh God, his name, I can't think of his name.
George Soros.
No, who finally used the term illegal immigrant recently, and he's an African American Democratic activist. And Al Sharpton finally used the term.
Oh
illegal aliens.
Yeah.
You know it's getting real.
Yes, when Al Sharpton's kind of speaking some stuff that makes sense.
And that, you know, oh boy. All right, goodness gracious. So, okay, preparing better. How to prepare yourself, your family for this stuff. Cast your vote. Get a gun. Learn how to use it. Prep. Put stuff away. Build a community. Anything to add to that, guys?
Pray. I think that a return to faith is the only way that this country turns around, is a revival, you know, and that is, as individually, I will share a little nugget of hope. My wife is a high school teacher, and she does a little survey at the beginning of each school year with her students. And she said that the overwhelming majority, like 60 or 70% of them, what they put on the things that they would like to change or improve on this year was their relationship with God.
Wow.
That is a little ray of hope.
Wow.
That,
yes.
You know, the younger kids are seeing the craziness of the world, and they're like, you know, I don't think that what anybody's telling me is the truth. And, you know, if you start searching for the truth, it's going to lead you to God.
Wow.
So,
yep. And start.
Awesome.
Don't be afraid to speak your opinion around your friends, your coworkers. So many people just, I don't want to speak out. I don't want to say the right thing just for fear.
Yeah.
And actually, most people probably believe how you believe. And as soon as one person stands up, everybody else joins in. And now all of a sudden we've got a way, we've got momentum. We have an awakening of this Christian brotherhood and sisterhood of people that are willing to stand up and say, no, we're not going to let this happen, or we're going to help this person out. And so just by speaking what you believe and why you believe it, you'd be surprised how many people all of a sudden are willing to join in to help out just because they heard you say what you believe in.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, it's a great way to end this discussion. Let's jump into that conflicted card again. Do you guys have that?
Oh, yeah. Yep, I got it right here, brother.
Let's read that one more time.
All right, you hear a noise in the back of your house and you find about 12 orphans scavenging for food in your garbage cans. They appear to be kids, under 6 or 7 years old. Taking them in would diminish your supply timeline by 50%, and you aren't sure you can replenish your supplies once they run out. Plus, it would take manpower to watch over all of them, and you can spare little since everyone in your camp is constantly exhausted from hard work and ration meals. Leaving these kids to their fates would mean their deaths or worse. How would you handle this situation?
I know you guys well enough that I know how you're going to answer this.
Yeah.
I do. We're close enough that I know we're all pretty much like-minded on this. But I will say, I want to remind our audience now, we're talking about a post-apocalyptic scenario. We're not talking about right now, 5 minutes from now, when it is bad. The grid is down. To each his own. We're surviving out there in just small group scavenging and so on. Still, yet I cannot see myself not, taking care of those kids. It's in my heart to do it. I know I don't even have to ask you guys what your answer is going to be. I know it's going to be the same.
I would try to figure out if they're zombies or not. So I would probably
trying to bite me.
I'd put a hot dog on a stick and stick it out the door real quick and see if something crazy happened. And if I figured out they were actually real kids, who's gonna not help out a 6-year-old kid that's running around starving to death. Obviously, to me, the right answer is, we're going to take in these kids. And if we run out of food in a week, then I guess that's how this ship goes down. But obviously we have a heart for other people, especially for kids. And that's what other people's lives are supposed to be more important than ours. In law enforcement, we have this priority of life scale: innocent people, cops, and then bad guys. So our job every night is not to come home every night. Our job is to make sure all the community comes home at night. That's our real job. So we need to be putting other people, especially those who can't help themselves, especially those people, we've got to put them above ourselves.
As a man of faith, I would have to say that there's no way I could turn away those kids, because I'm called by Scripture to take in the orphans and the needy, and to do unto others that I would have them do unto me. And I just, at that point, would just say, okay, God, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to trust you that you're going to supply the stuff that we need in this situation.
As long as they're not zombies.
As long as they're not zombies. I don't think I would get in trouble for shooting at zombies.
No.
No, that's allowed. All right, good stuff. Righteous Savages podcast. Where can we find it?
YouTube is our main thrust of content. We're on all social medias. Just look for Righteous Savages and you'll find us. But YouTube is our main one. We post a lot of unique content that we don't post on other platforms on YouTube. So get on our YouTube page, like and subscribe. We're also going to give a shout out to, we're going to be doing some tactical training courses coming up in the upcoming months at Tombstone Gun Range in Marion, Illinois. So if you get on the Tombstone Gun Range website and check those out, you can sign up for those. And we're going to do a lot of this firearms and face stuff in those trainings. It's going to be really cool, really unique to anything else that's out there.
Awesome. I see some swag, some Righteous Savages swag going on there. I see
a little bit. We're rocking it out pretty good. So we got some shirts, hats on the website. So Righteous Savages, act like you believe. If you believe a certain way with your faith, with anything else, then act like it. Do what you need to be doing. So that's our tagline. We want people not be afraid to speak out. So we always tell people, take Jesus with you everywhere you go. Act like you believe, and we like to live by that motto.
Yep. So if you go to our website, you can find our shop. It's right at the top of the page on our homepage, and you can go on there. You can find all of this stuff. Our wristbands, not bracelets, they're wristbands. They're manly. And then our hats and t-shirts, and we even have hoodies, and we've got more merch coming. We give a little shout out here in the next couple of weeks. We're actually going to have Righteous Savages coffee. And you guys are the first ones to hear about this.
Love it.
It's going to be on our website. So if you guys are coffee drinkers, check that out.
All right, awesum. Righteous Savages, make sure you check them out. Dave, Kemp, Jon Wheaton, thank you guys. You've been fantastic contributing to our conversation today. Folks at home, make sure you check them out. Survival Dispatch News. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thanks for watching. Be safe till we see you next time.